both now.
All right.
All right, let's count down. 3, 2, 1, go. All right. We are in After Hours territory.
Did you find the YouTube link?
No, not yet. I should put that up before I even check anything else. That's me.
We're having a fun day here at the Skyhoppers podcast.
It's funny because everything normally is working fine. And, of course, this is the live stream. I'm wondering if we shouldn't just make the last episode of every month a live stream by default because we always forget to do it.
That's actually not a terrible idea.
And then that way, it's just known. It's just known that we're going to do it the very last minute. Still in the process of getting this open. YouTube Studio, come on. You are taking forever. Okay. So we should already be live. We just got a new sub on YouTube from Misha Walker. I don't know who that is, but that's cool. And I'm actually in the process of creating. I'm getting back in the Let's Plays. I'm picking it back up.
I really hope it was you posting from the Skyhoppers Instagram because it genuinely confused the fuck out of me for a second. I was like, what the hell do you mean you're not posting it?
It's me. It's me. No, this is so hard. Why is this so fucking hard? What is this? I can't remember where it is. I hate this.
Hold on. Maybe there's an easier way to do this. We're streaming now, right?
We are streaming.
Maybe I can find it. Because it's not like a private stream.
No, it's just unlisted.
Oh shit. No, I can't find it then.
Well,
God damn it, Ben.
Well, I don't know. You might be able to find it.
Hold on. Let me
give it a shot because this is ridiculous. I don't want to be on YouTube like oh god, we're 15 minutes late.
Tis what it is.
Yeah, I guess people have their stuff.
When you were lonely.
Wow. Okay.
Did I fucking find? No, I didn't.
No,
dang it.
You can't go to our YouTube page and find it. I don't know why. Okay, going back to the YouTube Studio beta. Live. This is old stuff. I want to go live right now. If I hit go live, does it open? It does. It opens this weird thing. That's not what I want. I don't want to live stream directly from here. This is great after hours content. I completely forgot about that.
I forgot we were recording.
Yeah, I did too.
Might need to cut this one out. Who knows?
Yeah. We'll see.
When you were lonely. Why am I singing ABBA? What's wrong with me?
I don't know. Dashboard. Why is this so hard? Why do I... more importantly...
Just give me a fucking link, YouTube.
More importantly, how do I forget to do this
every time?
How do I forget how to do this?
Okay, so...
Okay, found it. It's impossible to find in the YouTube Live beta. All right.
Where is it?
You have to go to the Classic, and you go to Classic, and then live streaming. That's it. There's the stream. I see it right there.
Do you have the link?
Yeah, I'm posting it right now. God damn, that's annoying. All right, anyway. Everyone, tag everyone. Okay. So let's get back to our actual call. Pop out the chat. Okay. Chat has popped out. Don't need that up anymore. Tumblr probably doesn't need to be open at all. I keep forgetting to change the name of the episode. On YouTube. Wait, why is your camera frozen? Turn your camera off. And back on again.
There's me chewing on my shirt.
Hi, Liam. Yeah, I don't know what's going. You're like, I don't know what that's about. We gotta really.
Fuck?
Yeah, I don't know. Turn your camera off and back on again.
Hold on.
Yes, Liam.
Anything?
There we go. There we go.
Hello?
Yeah, what's that giant black thing up on the... Oh, you're gone. Oh, okay. You're back.
Am I here?
Cool. Okay. Good Lord. This has been a day. But we here. We living.
We're living. You're not mean, Liam. I know. No. I was frozen.
Yeah.
Is that a Greg? Is a wild Greg appeared in the chat?
Is it Greg? Meg's here. Hi, Meg. Is sufficiently interesting, Greg? I certainly hope so. I'm gonna assume. Okay.
It's a whale of some kind. I don't know if a beluga's a whale, but
oh, it is. It's a beluga whale. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. I forget. It's a whale. I forget that's kind of Greg's brand. Is the whole whale thing. I mean, mine's ferrets, so I really can't judge.
I mean, for like a year, I thought Greg was just a whale. I saw a picture of him at Celebration. I was like, oh, that's what Greg looks like. Because in my brain, he was just a whale.
Greg status, yes. Greg confirmed.
It's a beluga. Sorry, Meg. I am not. I'm not up to date with my ocean creatures.
Yeah, I was gonna say, get your marine life on track, Meg. Or not Meg. Sorry, Meg. Your marine life is on track. I don't know why I said Meg. I meant Ash. That was completely accidental.
What? Just because we both have names that are 3 letters and 1 syllable, that means we're the same person?
Why? Okay, this is weird because for some reason... Oh, it is. Never mind. I thought Audition was not recording. And I'm like, well, that's cool. Audacity was, so I could even use that. But podcasting is just not in the cards today. I'm really, really hoping we don't have some kind of major technical difficulties at any point. Meg! Hi, Fatmatic. I'm going to pretend that Meg is not latching on to the little slip of the tongue that I just had. And just say hi to Fatmatic because... No, I was going to say because... Oh, we are wearing matching colors.
Are we?
Yeah.
We are.
Sun's out. I'm wearing my Darth Vader tank top because, you know, sun's out, guns out, all that.
I'm wearing a... We're also both wearing baseball caps, too. Yeah. Maybe I should do this. There we go.
What's on yours?
The Targaryen sigil from Game of Thrones. Okay. I got it for Competition of Chairs because Lizzie, my co-host... My co-host for Competition of Chairs got a Daenerys on the Iron Throne Funko Pop and then put a coffee cup on it, a coffee cup Christmas ornament on it.
That is fantastic.
And we end the show by saying "Have a Mother of Dragon Day," so to kind of like celebrate that I got this Targaryen hat because I fucking hate the Targaryens and I thought it was funny.
I'm just trying to be more of a hat person. There are a lot of cool hats. Hats are awesome. Man. I need a haircut so bad, and the hat has been saving me recently because my hair looks horrific and I haven't had time, or really, if I'm being honest, money, because I keep spending money on stupid shit. So like, this is what I got these the other day. Hang on. You know, I've been on this massive Zelda kick, right?
Yes. You couldn't hear me, but I said yes.
I got the Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons, and the Majora's Mask mangas. The only reason I don't have Ocarina of Time yet is because I'm intimately familiar with the story of Ocarina of Time. So I just didn't... Well,
Majora's Mask is the best one anyway, so it doesn't even matter.
Whoa. We've talked about this.
I said what I said.
That's a hot take.
I said what I said.
I need to put my phone on silent. Yeah, Greg, that's a mood. I don't think I really looked all right in hats until I grew a beard. That was like the turning point for me.
I've always hated my hair. That's why I wear hats all the time.
And see,
I hated my hair, so I cut it all off, and then I hit it with
still hide it with a hat. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can. I like. We were talking before we started recording about how this is really just After Hours is really just our guitar podcast.
Basically.
And I want to take a second to show off my new setup because today, as of today, I am $350 richer. I sold my Line 6 DT25 head. And as the guy was coming from Indianapolis, which for those who don't know, which is most of you, is like an hour north of here. And as he's driving down, I just started getting became very melancholic. I was just like, oh no, I love this amp. And I was playing it before he showed up and I'm just like, I love this. And I was selling it more to like trade into. It wasn't because I didn't like it. It was because I didn't play it as much as my hot rod. And I just felt like I wasn't playing it enough. And now I miss it now that that's gone. But $350 does help. Granted, that's $100 less than I paid for it, but I paid for it a long time ago. I just kind of wanted to trade it into something new. So I found out today that Fender Hot Rod DeVille 410, which is this amp right here. Well, that's weird. I don't know if you can see it on the stream, but in my webcam here on Discord, you can very clearly see the outlines of the speakers in the amp.
I can see it, yeah.
Yeah, which is weird. Because I found out today there was a Hot Rod DeVille 212. So it's the big cabinet like this, but it has two 12-inch speakers. And I'm like, I do have the 410, right? But I found out that I've got this Avatar extension cabinet that I was using for my DT25. Well, I found out that the speaker out for the Hot Rod is an 8 ohm out, and that's an 8 ohm cab. So I was just like, hell yeah, brother. We're gonna do this. So now I've got an amp that is 4 10-inch speakers and 2 12-inch speakers, and I think it sounds significantly better. My issue with the Hot Rod DeVille so far has been that it almost sounds a little sterile. I think the clean sounds a little sterile. It's lacking some low end, some fullness, and I think it's those 10-inch speakers. But the 12-inch speakers really help open it up a little bit, and it sounds significantly better than it did. And then also, it looks like I'm a left-handed guitarist. I'm not, but this is my best friend Nathan lives in Japan now and has for the last few years. So this guitar has just been sitting in his bedroom for literal years. Even when he was here, I was the only one to ever play it. I was the only one to ever play this guitar when I was over at his house. And when he was here last, we were all hanging out last week. And I was just like, dude, can I borrow that guitar? And he's like, yeah, just take it. So, and it's not, again, I'll never call it mine. It's not my guitar, but free Mexican Strat. I'll take it.
There you go.
I'll take it. It's a great playing guitar. I love it.
Strats are awesome, man.
I know, like I was saying in Discord earlier, the color has never been my favorite. In fact, for a long time, I thought the color was kind of ugly. But now that I've had it and seen it in different light, and I actually went and took photos outside because I'm like, hey, I've got these 2 Stratocaster guitars. I'm going to go do a photo shoot outside because I'm a total loser. And seeing it in different lighting, I'm really coming around on it. It's no shell pink or seafoam green, but it's pretty good. Although I will say that I think with a tortoiseshell pickguard, that would look horrific.
Horrific, yes.
Yeah,
I thought you were gonna say great for a second. I was like, Ben, no.
The tortoiseshell pickguard on the sage green metallic would be just about the worst color combination I could imagine. I think that.
I'm telling you, tortoiseshell on shell pink, great.
Oh,
tortoiseshell
God.
on turquoise, great. Tortoiseshell on either of our Stratocasters, hell no.
Nope, it wouldn't look good on my my parts caster either. It'd look really bad. But I don't want to get too deep into. Do you have any new gear as of late?
No. But I did fix something that I've showed you before. I don't know if I showed podcast. This thing?
Yeah, the banjo ukulele.
So my favorite combination lately has been
the kazoo. I'm out.
When it was broken and it needed a new bridge. And I for once was like, okay, I'm not gonna take it to the shop. I can figure out how to do this by myself. So I bought one and slotted it out and fixed it. So it still sounds like absolute shit, but it's fun.
Greg, don't encourage the kazoo. Do not encourage the kazoo. See, the worst thing is, I think I need to cut that out of the episode of the After Hours and then like stick it on the very end of the podcast. Like, I feel like I want.
Do you want me to record a full kazoo rendition of the Star Wars theme? I'll do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I hate it, but it's worth it for the meme. Like, I'm okay with that.
I did it for competition of chairs. Like,
yeah, I know. We've seen it. We've all seen it.
I do have some exciting news though. Like actual genuinely personal exciting news. As of this morning, your girl is no longer technically diabetic.
Woo! That's awesome. So like, because you were, I mean, not to get too personal, I guess we're here on the after hours. Like, you were always like just pre-diabetic, right? That was like.
No, I had full type 2.
Well, how do you not? Okay, then enlighten me. How do you stop?
You eat better. So your A1C is at a certain level, and that qualifies you as pre-diabetic or diabetic. And I had reached they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And a lot of it was like diet based. And then I cut all of the terrible things out of my diet, and my A1C is back down to what is a normal level. So it's just, it depends on your level of A1C. If it's a certain range, you're diabetic. If it's a certain range, you're pre-diabetic, which basically means that you are diabetic. I mean, pre-diabetic really doesn't actually mean anything. It means, hey, knock it off, idiot, before you get diabetes.
Yeah.
And I didn't listen. That was my problem. And then I started listening, and then I got rid of it. Type 2 is type 2 is a curable, quote unquote, one. Type 1's the one that never goes away. Type 2 is the one that can be, it's not cured, but it's managed.
So it's not going to cause you any problems as long as you keep.
Yeah, so I'm no longer in the range of diabetic.
Okay, nice. Sweet. That is fantastic news. That is actually, I expected this to be some kind of joke, but this is not. This is actually good news.
No.
So
I found it this morning, and I like legit cried in the doctor's office.
Well, yeah, I feel
like we can take that off the list. Thank God.
That is very great news. That is very great. What was I gonna say? I forgot. I keep forgetting it's a Tuesday. And I'm like, doctors, what? You're at the doctor on a Saturday? And I'm like, it's a Tuesday. Because it's for the longest time.
Welcome to the retail schedule.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, my only days off for a long time was Saturday. I had one day off a week. It was Saturday.
And I had retail is insane. This week was our Memorial Day sale.
Ooh.
We normally have 20% off coupons, right, at Harbor Freight. This time we had a 25% off coupon yesterday, and I wanted to fucking kill myself. There were lines to the back of the store all day. And then our district manager comes in, and for the last hour, they took me off register and had me work the floor because somebody else came in and took over my register. And my district manager comes up and it's like, anytime we're crazy here, this is like the boss. Anytime we're like crazy busy here, I always see you and you're just so calm. I wonder how you do it. And the thought that entered my brain was like, I'm freaking out all the time and have to pretend that I'm okay.
That's my secret cap.
That's my secret cap. But I was just like, but what I responded with is, I worked at a movie theater when I was 15. I worked through Avengers. This is nothing. This, like, you can't faze me anymore. Though getting yelled at by an old lady for coupons was the highlight of my day. Just,
That sounds horrible.
Harbor Freight has a bunch of cheap bastards. I'm sorry, but I feel like I can say this because I wouldn't say it on Twitter, but I can say it on stream.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's like different because on Twitter I would never say that I work for H&M.
Oh no, me either. No.
Well, yeah, because you don't work for H&M. Of course, you wouldn't say that.
No, I'm saying, shut the fuck up, Ben.
But like here, I'm like, this is a safe space. I can talk about my employer here specifically. Meg, that's a mood. Old ladies and their coupons are menaces. Or menaches, is how I like to pronounce it. The Phantom Menache. It's been a very long week. I've not worked a 40-hour week. Well, I have, but never more than like 4 at max 6 chunks at a time. 6-hour chunks. And usually it's like,
how long are your shifts?
8. I work full, well, not 9. I'm gone for 9 because I have the mandatory hour-long lunch. And can't say I love it. Really can't.
We get 30-minute lunches, which I actually kind of prefer.
Well, I was going to say, I have a mandatory hour-long lunch, which sucks.
Ours is mandatory too. Yeah,
I can't come back early and say, like, leave half an hour early. Which, it has its, I'm not going to say isn't nice at times. Like, an hour lunch is cool because, like, I can walk across the street to Jimmy John's and, I'm in the mall. So I've got, like, I'm surrounded by food on the east side. So if I want to go get something, if I want to eat something I brought, it's like that saves me even more time and I can just like read or play Switch on my break, the rest of my break. Um, and really it's been invaluable in me getting through like my Oberoi Skywalker's reading in time. Because I have just been absolutely exhausted at the end of every day. And
Man.
it's kind of it's kind of a good exhausted, because it's like I like being on my feet and moving around, and that's literally what I do all day.
Are you like a cashier or a stock person?
I am a sales advisor, which does basically everything that's not managerial. Okay. I am on the register sometimes. I run stuff from the fitting room. I get in early on Mondays and Fridays to process the truck, like their shipments, which sucks because that's basically like sticking sensors and stuff and then putting stuff on hangers, and that sucks.
Boy, I know how you feel about processing a truck, except I have to get there at 4 a.m.
Wow, that's really bad. That's really bad. Apparently, they can schedule truck shifts as early as 5 a.m., but they don't here anyway, thank God. And we've been, of course, as soon as I start, when I worked at Target, obviously, we were pushing red cards, because you always are at Target. Although I find that I don't get asked as much anymore at Target whenever I check out.
Maybe it was after that big security scandal they had a few
Maybe,
years back.
I don't know, but it's like, I'm not getting asked about red cards, and I see people wearing just like jeans and like a red flannel over their whatever t-shirt. And I'm just like, is that cool for Target employees now? Because whenever I worked there, it was red shirt, khakis. That was all you could wear. That was it. Well, it wasn't necessarily khakis, but like tan pants. You had to wear tan pants. And so I was like, oh man, I'm glad H&M doesn't have anything like that. Well, of course, as soon as I start working, we start pushing this new loyalty program, which thankfully is not a credit card.
Yeah.
It's easier to get people to sign up for it because it's like a rewards points program.
Well, the thing with Harbor Freight is like the entire business is predicated on coupons and shit. So you have to ask people for their phone numbers, address, and email, which is awful.
Yeah.
It's the worst. And you know, I've been doing a lot more like floor shifts lately, which I actually like more than the cashier, but they were like, nah, you're too good at like kissing ass to people. We need you up at the front. But I'm the only cashier who has to do truck shifts, which is bullshit, in my opinion.
It's because they're wanting you to take on that more responsibility because they know you're good.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. They also keep throwing a bunch of shit at me and I don't complain about anything ever.
Exactly.
So it's like I've come to the realization over the past couple of years, people just take advantage of me, and I just let them.
I'm in a weird spot, because that's the same that happens with me. Same thing happens with me. It's like I don't say no to a lot of things, and so
Meg just put Ash in the chat. I know, Meg. I know.
Trevor. He's just in here talking shit for no reason. But anyway, what I was saying.
I just laughed and got soda all over myself. And that's on a live stream, so yeah.
It's saved forever. What I was saying is that, oh my God, I just realized we do not have a topic for this week. Anyway, what was I saying?
Put suggestions in the chat.
Yeah. Talking shit is its own reward. I had to moderate that comment. I could have blocked that comment, Greg. Just so you know. But so I'm in this weird spot where
Sorry, Mom.
Where my best friend is my manager.
Yeah.
And if she were to call me on my day off and say, "Hey, could you come in?" I'd want to say no. Thankfully, I'm usually going to be at 40 hours a week, so they probably can't call me super often because they will not give me overtime. They can't do that. Or they just won't. But if I say no, then my friend is the one who's going to have to do the work. You know what I mean? My friend will have to do extra work if she can't find anyone else to come in. And so it's like, it's cool. I like working with my friend, and she is a good manager. Like, everyone likes her. It's not even just like me because she's my friend, but it's rough. I'm not eagerly awaiting the day that happens, and I have to be like, no, I don't want to come in. I just don't want to. You know, it's like, and I'm under no obligation to do so. I understand that. But I don't know. It's going to be weird.
At least she's a good manager, man. Can you imagine if she was shitty? Like,
Oh, that'd be bad. That would be very bad. But it's like I've talked to. I mean, everyone, all my coworkers like her as well. So which doesn't surprise me. Like she is a good manager, and both of my managers are good. But they, every manager has to make tough decisions. So I'm certainly not going to hold anything against her personally if anything comes up or anything happens.
yeah,
especially because this is a temporary job. It's I don't really anticipate being here much more than a year anyway, because hopefully I get something else after I graduate, but who knows.
My manager, I'm having, maybe you can offer me some insight on this, because I don't know how to deal with it, and chat as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not just me this time.
Yep. My manager, okay, so I have a great manager. Her name's Myra. She's awesome. Helps me out, super, and she's the one who's like pushing for me to, and I realized the other day, because we both opened, because two people open, because you have to have somebody in the cash office when you're counting drawers, or two people in the cash office when you're counting drawers. I realized when we opened the other day, and she was complaining about all the other managers. It's like, oh, she wants me to do it because she thinks I'm actually going to do my job correctly. That's why she wants me to do it, because she knows I follow the rules. She's awesome. Then my immediate supervisor under her is this guy named David, who's an asshole. And not like just an asshole, like a homophobic asshole. Who was like throwing a bunch of slurs around in reference to me. And I didn't know how to respond to that other than like, I want to punch you in the face. And I have no idea what to do about it. Well, then the problem was he just assumed, for one thing. He's like, you're gay, right? I was like, nope, not. Is that a problem if I was? Because fuck you if it is. But like, no, I'm not. But it was the worst thing ever. I don't know. And I just don't know what to do about that. Yeah, Meg.
Don't either. I don't really know. The only thing I could do...
My boss... I told my other manager, and she was like, yeah, we've been trying to get him fired. There's somebody above her, and the guy above her likes him. She's like, and he's he's shitty at his job also. So she's like, we've been trying to get rid of him for months now, but we can't do it.
Well, I think you should lodge a complaint. I mean, again, if there are other people trying to get him fired as well, I think you should lodge like a formal complaint against him with the boss above him and say,
yeah,
look, this happened. It was like super uncool. Very incredibly uncool. Cause
I didn't give a shit that he was throwing it towards me, because it's like, it's not a bad thing. So what? I don't understand because he said it completely out of the blue. No context, just like, you're gay, right? I was like, no, I'm not. But is that a problem? Would it be a problem if I was?
It's not something that's appropriate to ask a subordinate anyway. You know what I mean? No matter what, he did something, he's done wrong, no matter what, as you know.
Yeah. And I talked to somebody said tell Myra about it. I did. Yeah, it's just like, what the fuck? I don't know what to do in this. And then he just drops like casual homophobic slurs, throughout the day.
That's no good.
He made fun of a girl who was wearing a crop top the other day, and I was just like, what the fuck do you expect me to say to this? Like, leave me alone.
Yeah, I think the only thing you can do is like lodge a complaint, and especially since you're such a good employee, it shouldn't carry any more weight based on how good of an employee you are. But maybe it will. It's like,
yeah,
look, this is bad. This cannot continue. This can't continue.
Yeah. And he's like shitty at his job also, so maybe they're just looking for a reason.
Well, then that might be what you need. That might be what you need. And it coming from you, like, you don't want Meg.
Meg.
You don't want to rely on, I mean, Myra's cool, but you don't want to rely on her to bring this to her higher up.
Well, yeah, and I'm realizing she's the only female supervisor, and I'm realizing why she was like, at first I was annoyed when she was pushing me so hard for like, you should be a supervisor one day, you should be talking me up to the district manager, all this stuff. And I realized, oh, she probably just doesn't want to deal with this bullshit. And if there's another one that makes it I don't know. I guess more
That's
safety in numbers. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but
no, I mean that's a thing. Like I think you just need to bring it to your district manager. Bring it to whoever will listen, because
she likes me, so.
Well, exactly. That's another point in your favor, especially. And if I don't know, that's what you need to do. Just keep going up the chain till you find someone who will listen to you. Hopefully, that's like the manager above Myra. But
yeah,
I think that's your best course of action. And if you and Myra are both, like Greg's saying, if you guys are both able to be like, look, multiple times this guy's behavior has made us uncomfortable.
Yeah.
This can't continue. And I'm not saying you should necessarily like threaten to quit or something, but like maybe subtly work it in. That's just like
that would do it. That would do it. We're super short staffed.
Okay, yeah, even better. Subtly work it in. That's like, hey, this made me uncomfortable. And if it continues, I might have to find a new place to work. So don't say like, I'm gonna quit if you don't do something about this, but say, if he sticks around, this will continue to be a problem, and you know what I mean?
He needs to like change his behavior.
Yes, something there needs to be, because you don't necessarily need to fire him, but his behavior needs to be corrected.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody thinks it's that big of a deal, because I work with the type of people who like casual, who like drop and say like that's gay or whatever in reference when something's bad. So it's like, hey, what year are we in?
Casual homophobia. Well, it's funny.
Well, yeah, and then when I got offended by dumbass coworkers went, "Oh, are you gay?" I was like, "No, I'm a decent human being, you asshole."
Apparently, someone came into H&M, some lady who had like 2 like chihuahuas in her hands. That I don't know how she got them into the mall, because it's supposed to be service animals only, and I guess they could have been service animals, but odd.
It was probably a security guard who just didn't want to deal with that shit.
Maybe, I don't know, but she asked one of the guys who worked at H&M before me, one of the managers, is gay, and H&M is generally a very LGBT friendly place. Well, this lady asked the gay manager and one of the other girls that worked there, just like, why does everything in here look so gay? And she said it in a way that was like, why does everything in here look so gay? And then they were kind of like, what? And she's like, no. Why does it, I mean slutty. Why is everything in here slutty? And we're just like, they were just
I'm sorry, that's fucked up, but that's also hilarious.
What? Like, excuse me? And I'm just like, yeah, realistically, the more that I work there, the more I'm just like, yeah, if you're not comfortable with anything LGBT, first of all, what's wrong with you? Secondly, don't go into H&M. That is one of the gayest stores I've ever been in.
In a sharp contrast, where I work is one of, if it's possible, the straightest places I've ever been in my entire life. Because it's literally like old men and veterans who have like a goddamn chip on their shoulder about everything. One of them called me a heavenly creature.
That's disgusting. I cannot.
One of them full on hit on me and my manager the other day. Me and Myra are one of the only 2 women who work up in the front. Everybody else works in the back. And I'm just like, are you that desperate? Because it's not like I am under no illusions that I'm like, quote unquote, conventionally attractive. I have short hair and I wear a baseball cap every day. It's not exactly screaming, come at me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, how desperate do you have to be to hit on the poor cashier at the hardware store?
Well, it's one of those on my brother and me. They used to get these questions a lot. They don't really hit on them anymore. They would get these questions. It's like, hey, there's this cute girl at the grocery store. Is it okay to ask her out in line? And it got to the point where they're just like, how many times? It's like that SpongeBob. It's like that SpongeBob meme. How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? Like, that's what it became, where it's just like, no, you don't hit on anybody when they're trapped, when they can't leave, when they're just doing their job. Like, yeah, no, absolutely not. It's never cool.
Especially if you're 3 times my age. Yeah. Like, no. How do you think this is gonna end, dude?
Oh, Jesus.
They started asking me. There's literally, they all ask me, not all of them, but a lot of them, do you have a boyfriend? And I have to say yes. And then my buddy Derek, who's best coworker to work with. Whenever we work like back to back, like his register's next to mine, it's always a good day. Derek goes, yeah, he's a Marine.
Go, Derek. Go, Derek.
I'm like, Derek, you're my favorite
Truly
person
an
here.
ally for women. I love Derek. I don't know. Thankfully,
Meg, you can come sleep on my couch if you want. Come beat him up.
Yeah. But
oh man.
Thankfully, H&M generally is a pretty chill place to work. I've been there for a week and I've not had any super problematic customers. Unlike, I don't want to make sweeping generalizations, but the demographic for Harbor Freight is potentially
very different.
Has a lot more potential for problematic customers, I think, than the clientele for H&M.
Yeah.
But
here's the thing. I don't hate my job. I dislike it as much as I've disliked every other customer service job I've ever had.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it as much as like fucking Chipotle or the church. Chipotle was awful. You knew me when I worked at Chipotle.
I was gonna say, that's been a minute at this point. It's going on. We've known each other for almost 3 years. Can you believe that?
Oh, I was gonna talk to you about something because I got an idea for something, and I was gonna give you a heads up about it before I like posted it on Twitter, and you got weirded out. If you were ever gonna get weirded out by it, I want to get a Skyhopper tattoo for like the 3-year anniversary of the show. And I was just gonna like throw that. Not that I expect you to get a Skyhopper tattattoo, but I was just gonna throw that out there that was an idea I had, so you didn't get freaked out by it or anything.
Now I feel like I need to.
You don't need to. This is not me saying I'm getting it.
I know.
Yes, you can snuggle with Wedge, Meg.
But like Meg has Meg's got the Rogue Pod tattoo.
I got this idea from Meg, by the way.
Meg is the only one with the Rogue Pod tattoo, so that makes me feel a little better about not getting one, but it's like...
You don't need to get a Skyhopper's tattoo. Or Skyhopper tattoo, rather. It was just an idea that I thought of for the 3... Because 3 years is a fucking accomplishment,
It is.
dude.
It is. We'll be closing in on it. Well, no, I guess we're still like 50 some odd episodes out from 200 episodes, but...
In like a year, we'll be at 200.
That's a long time. But I don't know. It's that's cool. I like that idea. We'll see. Maybe we should talk about this and make it something simple so that it won't be expensive.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe like a diagram of a Skyhopper, of a T16.
Ooh.
I like Darren's idea. Because it'd be simple, like, line work, and that's really the only thing I ever want on my body is, like, just lines.
Yeah, me too. I don't want, like, a big old...
No,
I don't want, like, an actual fucking Skyhopper on my arm
Liam,
or something.
There is no way I am tattooing a Gran on my body. There is absolutely no way. That's never happening.
Please!
There is no way. You would have to get me incredibly drunk, and I don't drink like that, so it's just... It can't happen. It can't happen. No.
I was, or maybe something specific to the show, not necessarily the ship, but I think the ship is a cool idea.
Just not a Transdotion. That could be offensive. Like I don't want to like have to stereotype anything. Like it's funny. It's funny, but
give your Skyhoppers tattoo suggestions in the chat.
Please give us episode topic suggestions in the chat. Liam,
do that.
Well, I like the idea. I do like Liam's idea of prophecies. That's hard, but Cole and I actually talked about it a lot last night.
Did we have enough? I mean, does that require any prep? That's the question. Maybe.
Well, like
did we do a character episode this month?
No, we did
characters. That's a good one. That's an easy one.
Okay.
What character should we talk about?
Bosk.
Fuck.
What character should we talk about? Bosk. Fuck. No. Yeah, I think Greg's right. Prophecies does need prep, and I cannot believe I meant to ask you about topics. And I cannot believe that I've been busy. I've been busy today too. It's just one of those days. This kind of thing happens on occasion.
I'm feeling the brain fog so much lately, and I don't know if it's because of like physical or mental health stuff, but I don't like it, and it's not fun. But it's like
K2. We can't do an entire episode on K2. I don't think.
We already did Palpatine, Meg.
We did, but Palpatine is ripe for a revisit.
I don't know if I have enough to say about Palpatine.
I know. And well, we talked about Cassian already, right?
Yeah, Jin?
We could do Jin. How does everybody
Jin
feel
might
about
be
Jin?
good.
You can't, but I can. Yes, Darren, we know. Yuck to what? Yuck to Jin Urso? Oh, don't
Yuck
say
to
he's
what?
ripe. Thank
What
you,
about
Liam.
like the strongest stars have hearts of Kyber because you both have hearts of Kyber? Oh, thank you.
Oh, I kind of like Captain Rex too. But he also is
we need to get Maggie on if we ever do.
Okay, yeah,
Captain
you're
Rex,
right.
'cause
You're
she'll
right.
kill
You're
me.
right. You're right.
That isn't.
You're right. You're
If
right.
she goes, "What did you talk about on the podcast this week?" and I say Captain Rex, there won't be a podcast.
Oh man, there would. I just have to find a replacement Skyhopper, and God knows that would never be the same. I've thought about that before. Like, what would happen if one of us had to leave, but the other kept
Died?
the podcast? Yeah, it's like, but the podcast, because we really want to talk about Jin during the dad episode. I think that's fair. I think we can do Jin.
Jin's good. I have a lot to say about Jin. Just
okay. Yeah. Well,
right
that makes
here,
sense.
so
That
we
makes
should be
sense.
fine.
I do think I want to revisit Palpatine at some point, though.
we should maybe revisit him after
9.
9.
Probably, yeah. That's so far away. I guess it's not that far away, but I don't know. Working a few more 40-hour weeks and suddenly it'll be December. My life will be gone.
Yep.
Yeah, this is just water, everybody, to be clear. It's in a little growler that has the ingredients for beer on the front. Reversed, of course, because that's what my camera does, I guess. But it's just water. Water with a twist of lemon. A hint.
With a twist.
A hint of lemon.
God.
All right, let's what episode is this?
Hell if I know.
We are so prepared.
Also, why the fuck are there so many faces in our Discord server?
What do you mean?
Kappa. This. Can you see that?
Oh, yeah, I know what Kappa is. Come on, do you not know what a Kappa is?
Yes, I do. I'm just curious why it's in our Discord server.
Because that's my wallpaper. Good thing it wasn't. And good thing there weren't any anime titties on my desktop. That'd be awkward. Big or
You make it sound like there are anime titties on your desktop.
Old anime titties.
I did need that energy in my life.
Meg. Meg, thank you for telling me what episode we're on.
Are we seriously one away from 150?
We are.
What?
We are.
What?
Meg's gonna stop listening before we even get there, though. I've just ruined everything.
You made us lose all our friends in like 5 seconds.
Yeah, I did. All right, we're about 45
I
minutes
really
in.
hope everybody was listening to this with on, because if you have to explain that to your family members.
I've lived on Tumblr too long. Anime titties are their own joke.
This is what, you say that you have a weird sense of humor all the time, but I find you hilarious, so I don't know what that says about me. I think it just says we've both been on that hell site for.
We're both broken. Meg has the most experience with big ol' anime titties. Meg, it's actually spelled Tiddies. There's only one T into big ol' anime titties.
I'm stuck here forever. Yeah, me too, man. I can't leave. I started this. I have to see it through. Okay, we should probably start.
Probably should get started. So we're about 46 minutes in. I've been meaning to finish Princess Mononoke Fatmatic. I'm like halfway through it, but I fell asleep halfway through because I started watching too late. Maybe tonight.
Ben, why the fuck would you comment back?
Cause.
Oh god.
It's the best way to interact with chat without it. Whatever, doesn't matter.
All right. So Jin Urso.
Jin Urso, I guess. Okay, let's do this. Episode 149. Here we go. Welcome, listeners, to the Skyhoppers podcast. I screwed it up. Welcome, listeners, to another episode. No. Fuck! All right. Now we're going to do it. I got two in my own head, and I screwed up the intro. After 150 freaking episodes, I'm still screwing that up. Here we go. Actual start now. I'm not going to do anything weird. Welcome, listeners, to episode 149 of the Sky Hoppers podcast. I did it right that time. I am one of your hosts, Ben, and I am joined by my co-host, lovely co-host, Ash. What is the matter with me tonight?
I'm the other partisan on this podcast, Ash. What is wrong with you?
I don't know.
Are you sure there's not beer in that water bottle?
Yes, I'm positive. It's water. I know what beer tastes like, and it's not this. Bad. I don't know. I've got new intros on the brain because we definitely need a new one for Obro Skywalkers. Because it's the Obro Skywalkers intro is basically the Skyhoppers intro with different words. The cadence is exactly the same. The outro, or like the way we lead into the outro, is almost the same as well. So something needs to change.
I just let Lizzie do competition of chairs intro, and that all works. So
I think I started doing Obro Skywalkers just because Cole hadn't really podcasted before. That was my thinking anyway. I don't know. If you don't listen to Obro Skywalkers, you should. We're reading Survivor's Quest by Timothy Zahn, which is a great book, especially if you love Luke and Mara. What are you laughing at?
Meg tweeted something. Sorry.
Oh, God.
Survivor's Quest is great.
It's very good.
All
right. This is our live stream episode for the month, and yes, astute listeners will realize that we did miss it last month.
Sorry, guys.
But for most of you, that doesn't actually matter because you're not patrons of our podcast, so you don't get to watch them anyway. And what I mean by that is that you should go to patreon.com/theskyhopperspodcast and give as little as $1 a month to get access to our live streams. We had a lot of fun in the after hours this time, talking with chat, just hanging out, talking about there were some adult themes, I think towards the end of the after hours. But, all in all, a good time, I think. But on a less adult train of thought, what are we talking about tonight, Ash?
We're talking about my favorite Star Wars character, Jyn Erso.
It's really a wonder that we haven't done that yet.
To be fair, I suggested it a few months ago, and you said, I don't think there's enough there, and I just kind of went, okay.
Did I? This is just another case of me, just contradicting myself. I do that all the time. Did I talk about that last week?
I do it too.
Where I'm just okay, yeah, I say one thing, and then 6 months later, I'm just like, oh, the exact opposite.
Well, 3 weeks ago, I ripped into David Benioff and DB Weiss, and now I'm at a point where I'm like, I'm sure it'll be all right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's actually a rumor that I want to start with. The rumor that, what is her name? The woman that is writing.
Oh, The Old Republic?
Yeah. I'm looking that up right now because I want to.
I'd feel better about that news if it came from anywhere other than BuzzFeed.
Yeah, and that's one of those things. This is one of those things that's just everyone. There are a bunch of different articles about it, but they're all sourced from BuzzFeed News. Leda Kalogridis. I don't know how you say that, but I feel like it is important to mention her name as someone who is potentially attached to write an adaptation of Knights of the Old Republic?
Yeah, I guess.
Which,
I don't know.
That, one thing that bugs me is people keep calling the next Benioff and Weiss's series of movies a trilogy, and it's we don't know that it's a trilogy.
We don't know that.
It bugs me. Rian Johnson is getting, and I don't want to sound gatekeepy here at all, but Liam has a point. BuzzFeed a lot of time does do good reporting, but the issue is it's still just one source.
That's more the
that's
issue.
my bigger problem. That's my bigger problem.
And it's not like Hollywood Reporter, which is a credible trade for the movie business.
Yes. BuzzFeed covers a lot of stuff.
It's not official until it's on StarWars.com.
Yep, that's true. That is a very good point that I think a lot of us would do well to remember. Remember the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie.
I think Bria said that at one point. I'm like, yep, gonna coin that, gonna add that, sprinkle that into my vocabulary now.
Yeah, it's a good rule to live by. But shoot, what was I saying? Oh, I don't want to sound gatekeepy at all because that's not where I'm coming from when I say this. But I did think it was a little wild. It was funny to me that a few weeks ago, whenever we got Disney's plan for the next 10 years or whatever, however many years in the future it was that like outlined their schedule, there were all these new articles about, a new Star Wars trilogy, new Star Wars movies, and now the plans for, it's like what Star Wars is doing after episode 9. And I kept getting sent these articles from people who were just like, oh, is this true? Is this real? And I'm like, bro, we've known about these movies forever.
Yeah.
Forever. Literally, yeah. Rian Johnson, we've known about his movies since before The Last Jedi even hit theaters. And Benioff and Weiss was shortly after The Last Jedi hit theaters. It's like, it's not really new. It was kind of big news, but it felt more like inter-community or, inter-Star Wars community big news.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the fact that I don't know. And I don't know. But anyway, people keep calling it a trilogy, and that bugs me because we don't know this trilogy. It might be 2 movies. It might be 4 movies. But that's really kind of besides the point. That's just me nitpicking. What we actually talked about this, recently. What would you think of an adaptation of Knights of the Old Republic into a movie? Right? I mean, no one else can see you, but
sorry, the people on the live stream. I was trying to figure out how to phrase that. Because we talked about this last 2 weeks ago. I don't know.
2 or 3 weeks ago.
2 or 3 weeks ago. I don't hate it. I don't love it. That's the thing. I think there is inherently going to be some issues if they try to do like a straight adaptation of Knights of the Old Republic because it's so it heavily relies on choice and the player. It would be a video game movie then at that point, which is never fun.
Good thing.
I think the idea of taking the lore of the Old Republic and putting it in a movie is a good idea. I don't even think maybe necessarily Revan is a bad idea. I take that back. I do think Revan's I don't think Revan is the way they should go with this.
Me neither. And I want to clarify, but I'll let you finish first.
Because it's a character that's so, based on people choosing the direction they want to go with it. Like to me, Revan's a woman, and to a lot of people, that's very much not the case. You never know.
Yep.
It's like I said a couple weeks ago. I'm cool if they make Revan a woman and still have a relationship with Bastila.
Exactly, and that's kind of where I'm coming from as well. It's like we have been hard on Revan in the past.
Greg said it might be 0 movies I can dream.
That's definitely not what I want, but Greg is technically correct. Maybe, I don't know.
She talks smack about the Game of Thrones creators as she wears a Targaryen hat.
No one on the you outed yourself. No one on the podcast could see that.
I know. Also, wait, keep talking.
Well, okay, this is weird because I can't really have a conversation with just myself because Ash is gonna come back. What are you doing? She has some sort of mask. Oh, the Revan mask. Okay, it's the Revan mask. That's cool. We like the Revan mask. We're okay with the Revan mask.
I feel like I should do something just for the people watching the stream.
Your sound quality has gone down significantly. Ash is wearing the Revan mask, as I just said, which is why she suddenly sounds like she is, I don't know, wearing a mask. But what I was saying is we've been hard on Revan in the past, and I'm with you. I don't necessarily think that Revan is a horrific idea. I don't really think it's that bad of an idea. However, I know that if Revan is put in this movie, Revan will be a guy. That is, I think that's almost a given. And you're right that it's so the game is so heavily based on choice, but there was a canonical storyline. The light side ending is the canonical storyline. So they can just adapt that, and that could be how that works. Hi, Jason. Welcome to our chat, talking like some sort of admin, or I don't... Jason. Good old Jason. You all know Jason. He's been on the podcast a few times now. Now the hat and the Revan mask. It's all too much. Anyway, Revan.
This is my brand.
Yeah. We all need one. I just am... I'm weirdly simultaneously excited about the idea of an adaptation of Knights of the Old Republic because I really do love that game and I love that story. And just imagine if they did Knights of the Old Republic 1, and then 2, and then 3. then they started doing their own thing based off of that. I think that could be cool.
Yeah.
Also, the interesting thing about this, I don't. It might have actually been in the Rogue Patreon Discord, that I saw this. Somebody said somewhere that what if this is like a Mandalorian type thing, where it's like, okay, yeah, it's mostly Jon Favreau's thing, but he's got other directors and he's got other people coming on. What if this is Benioff and Weiss kind of running the show on these movies, but they're bringing in other writers?
I'm fine with that.
Yep. See, like that's
that I can live with.
Yeah.
Because it is worth pointing out that the worst reviewed episode of Game of Thrones ever was the last one, and it was written by Benioff and Weiss.
Yes, and I do think that I talked about this. I think it's been made kind of clear, I think, just from the bit of reading that I've done, that they were just ready to be done with Game of Thrones and wanted to move on to Star Wars.
Yeah, but I don't know what that says about their integrity as
yep, and that's what I said a few weeks ago. But at the same time, if they're excited about doing something again, hopefully that means that we could get to a point, or it's like we end up with something that is like well done. And I don't know what this Leda person has done, but
the fact that she's a woman is a good sign.
I was gonna say already, it's like that's important representation, like in a production sense.
Because I don't know if any of the nonsense that happened on Thrones would have happened if there had been a woman there to go, hey guys, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe we should look at the optics of this situation.
So, yes, that's good. I mean, that's obviously great, for its own set of reasons. But Greg, makes the good point of there's so much that you could potentially talk about in the Old Republic. You know what I mean? So it seems limiting to do an adaptation of something already existing. It'd be a great way to introduce a lot of people to that era, but I also, this is what I mean. I'm so conflicted about this. The idea is super cool, but it feels very limiting, and it just kind of feels like, oh man, I know the story of this, and I don't necessarily want to know the story of it. I don't know. It's all
me either.
It's all a rumor anyway, being reported by one source. So it might not even end up being worth talking about. But I do think that it's something interesting. I really don't think that we will know anything concrete until after 9 comes out, and even then it could be a while after 9 comes out.
But like we were saying a couple weeks ago, I think it's very plausible that it is something Old Republic-esque.
Yeah,
because
I think it is
who
too.
better to do that than Game of Thrones? Who better to do medieval Star Wars than the Game of Thrones guys?
Yep, and that makes me wonder what the heck Rian Johnson is doing. If Benioff and Weiss have been talking with Rian Johnson and they've kind of been producing their stories in tandem. Like, if Rian Johnson is doing something we've never seen before, I would assume then that it would almost have to be a far future, right?
Yeah.
Like, what if it's some kind of like, what if? Hear me out. You might actually not know what this is. Are you familiar with the Vector comics?
Yeah.
Okay, so you do know how you've got one character and one storyline that progresses through 4 different eras. If there's some sort of through line between the Old Republic and then whatever Rian Johnson is doing, I'm like super here for that.
That's cool.
I am very into that idea. So who knows? Obviously, this is all just speculation, and we're good at that, but
we're great at that.
I'm super excited to figure out what the heck is going on. And I don't want it to diminish my enjoyment of The Rise of Skywalker, and I don't think it will. But I can't help but feel like I'm ready for the next thing, because it's almost like Rise of Skywalker. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen in that movie, but we know when it comes out, we know what it's about, and we know the story to that point. It's super exciting to, I imagine, something that's like completely new. Because realistically, every Star Wars movie we've gotten since the Disney acquisition, none of it has been completely new. It's like,
no.
The sequel trilogy is obviously a continuation of the OT. Solo was the story of Han Solo, and Rogue One was from the opening crawl of A New Hope.
And what a brilliant segue into what we're actually supposed to be talking about today.
That was good. I'm glad you saw that. I'm glad you picked up that segue.
I was like, is he gonna let me talk about Jin?
Yes.
Is this episode just a long, convoluted way to get me to not talk about Jin?
No, it is not. It is not. Did we already announce that we're talking about Jin Erso?
Yes, we did.
Yeah. Jason
my favorite
says,
Star Wars character.
real quick, Jason says they're writing my galactic zoologist and my midichloricologist story for sure. I've seen it in a confirmed rumor. That's, I guess, I almost feel like I shouldn't even say anything about that because that's kind of
just move on. Just
Jason, if you ever listen to Holy Star Wars and if you heard Jason on our podcast, you know where Jason's interests in Star Wars lie, and I feel like that all makes perfect sense. But anyway, that's not something we can reasonably talk about on this podcast. Jyn Erso, however, is something we can. So, Ash, go ahead.
I was going to say, so Jin's my favorite character, and I could go on a long soliloquy about why I love her, and I plan to. What are your thoughts on Jyn?
I like Jyn a lot. Rogue One is, the thing that people complain about in Rogue One is, like, lack of character depth, which is something that I don't necessarily agree with, but it's hard, right? Because we just kind of, by default, look harder at these characters, and we look harder at these movies, and are willing to go beyond to get. And I'm not saying that it's okay necessarily to have all your backstory present in like books and external media that aren't the movies, but we're willing to seek that out. And once we find that, those characters become fleshed out, and we cannot necessarily see them as easily from the perspective of someone who's just watched the movie. So people complain about the shallow characters in Rogue One, and I want to say that I don't agree with that at all, but I don't know if that's colored by the fact that I've read Guardians of the Whills and Rebel Rising and all that stuff. But I will say that even first watching Rogue One, I did think her character development was quick. It all happened very fast. But I think that speaks more to the fact that Jyn is fundamentally a good person, and she's put on this air of not caring, and it's pretty obvious to me throughout the way that Felicity Jones has acts the part that Jyn is putting on an air of not caring. Jyn is pretending to not care.
People, if she really didn't care, she would not make such an effort to show that she didn't care.
Exactly.
She would not be like, well, it's not a problem if you don't look up. That's not how that scene plays. I love that scene. That is my all-time favorite Star Wars scene.
Really? Dang.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Rogue One's my favorite Star Wars movie, man. What do you want?
It's a good one. That's a good choice. They're all good choices.
I think you're right about Jin's character arc seeming first. I think they probably could have done a little bit of a better job establishing that this was pretty much a facade. Like, you get that feeling with Han Solo, right? There's never a moment when Han Solo comes back where you're like, I don't buy it.
Yeah,
right. And I think they were trying to get that across with Jyn, and probably didn't do so well. Maybe if they would, the thing for like saving the little girl, maybe got that idea across in subtle ways. Maybe they could have been a little obvious about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do find the Han Solo thing a pretty funny comparison, though, because nobody complained about Han Solo's choices feeling rushed, and Jyn is set up in pretty much the same way. And I also think it has a lot to do with, like, her father, who she had this very complicated relationship, finding out that her father cared about her and loved her and did everything, and this was the one shot that he gave the galaxy, and it was pretty much all resting on her. I think that snapped her out of whatever kind of cynicism she had about the whole thing.
That's a great point. Because that changes her entire outlook on...
Yeah.
Her entire outlook on the galaxy is...
Well, I think she learns that if she had any... We talked about this last week. Galen's not a good dad, but I think Jyn being so cynical at the world had a lot to do with her being cynical at her father. And to find out that her father loved her enough to have a completely blind shot in the dark, 1 in a million shot, and put faith in her even when he didn't know if she would even still be alive, that's got to do something to a person. And in this case, it made Jyn get up and do something about it.
Yep.
You know?
Meg, I see your comment about things to complain about in Solo, and I'm not going to give it the time of day. That's not why we're here. But
Meg, you want to come on and complain about Solo with me?
Nope. That's an episode. I'm done with that. I'm not taking part in that. Anyway, yeah, her entire worldview is changed by that. So that actually, hearing you say that makes me kind of change my thinking. I don't necessarily think that her character development and shift in perspective was very quick, but it has a reason for being quick.
Yeah,
it has a reason because she no longer.
And also, there's that thing about like people being thrown into extraordinary circumstances with each other. These five. Yes, there's five.
Yep.
6 members of Rogue One if you include K2.
Yep, there are 6. There's 6.
These 6 people get thrown together, and then a planet immediately blows up, and they have to escape, and then they're thrown into this other incredibly high stress situation. She grows to care about them in an incredibly short amount of time, as one naturally would. And you know, Cassian grows to care about her, and she grows to care about Cassian. Not in the romantic sense, thank God, but
that we know of.
Who knows what could have happened, man?
But
if they would have survived, it didn't happen.
That's what matters.
That would have felt rushed. If they would have kissed in that elevator.
Oh yeah, that would have been weird.
I think I had a point. I lost a point.
Crap.
What was I saying? Crap.
She grows to care about the characters. Yeah.
It makes Jin never felt rushed to me, and I understand why people think that's the case. Maybe it's because I watch a lot of movies and I come to expect this stuff, but like Jin to me was the most I had ever. A lot of it was probably like I associate a lot of myself with that character. Jin was the first time where I ever like truly 100% related to a Star Wars character. Like I could look at Han Solo and be like, "Oh, he's a dork. I'm a dork."
Right.
He loves Leia. I love Leia. I could look at Leia and be like, "There's certain attributes." Yeah. That's the root of my love of Han Solo. He loves Leia. I also love Leia. Same thing with Leia. Like there were qualities I could, you know, see myself in or whatever. Jin was the first time I ever really went, "Oh, that's me in a Star Wars movie."
Yeah. Yeah.
That, you know, I mean, starting with like the trauma of losing a parent, which is something that I've been through and all that stuff. And then having that, I've talked about this before on the show, not recently, I don't think, but having that "it's not a problem if you don't look up" scene was like the moment, I think more than anything else in Star Wars, that hit me personally, because I was that person. I was Jin in that situation where it was like, it's not, you know, I don't need to care about anything. It doesn't affect me. Why would I care? And then I like to think I've become Jin at the end of the movie.
I think you probably have. I think you don't have to worry about that, I don't think.
And it was also around the same time that all this stuff was happening, like politically and in our country, that made me realize that I had to like give a crap.
Yeah.
And do something about it. So that really struck a chord with me too. Fully articulate why she meant so much to me. I can kind of like I have a hard time like just talking it out. Again, I'm not really making much sense here. But that character to me represents something in Star Wars where it's like a true redemption arc. Like she wasn't a bad person, but she was apathetic, which is almost worse. Right? What's that quote? It's like evil prevails if good men do nothing, basically.
Yeah.
Jin's a good person, but she doesn't do anything. So is she a good person?
Well, it's weird because going on the whole what you just said about, you know, evil prevails when good people do nothing. Like it's one thing. It's weird. It's like a different kind of bad than people being evil, I think, because it just feels to me an entirely different thing whenever someone is like, "Oh, I am good. I could be making a positive change," and I'm not. I'm like choosing, and in her case, it's a very conscious decision to not. Because she feels like if she starts caring about anything, it's going to be taken away from her, and she's going to get hurt again, which is super. I don't know, because it's weird. Jin is an interesting character in the fact that Han Solo is. You've pointed out a lot of parallels between those two characters.
Mm-hmm.
To me, Han Solo is he's the smuggler with the heart of gold. We've said that a million times, roughly, But Han, to me, never really has the same sense of vulnerability that Jin does. You know, Han is like, he's got that facade up, but at the same time, Han feels very put together most of the time in a certain way. In Jin,
Han's facade has been kind of carefully crafted, I think. Jin's is more on the surface, even though she tries to, she doesn't do as good a job as hiding it as Han does.
yes,
I think.
yes. So
Because you even in that scene where she says it's not a problem if you don't look up, you know she doesn't believe it.
I know it, and that's what I think. That's like I don't, and I haven't actually heard anybody say this, but you could almost describe it to like bad acting. But it's good acting in the way that she's acting like a bad actor. You know what I mean? It's just like she's doing it on purpose.
And maybe if there had been a couple more scenes to kind of establish who Jin was a good person, that scene would have played a little differently. I know people have a problem with Jin because they find her like cold and unfeeling, and again, like her redemption, quote unquote, was too quick. Like I don't know, but I never had a problem with it.
I know,
and obviously I love that character dearly.
This is something that bugs me with a lot of Star Wars. Not even just in the context of Rogue One, and in a lot of ways, kind of movies in general, or just entertainment in general, rather. There is this tendency in a lot of people to just watch the movie and do no sort of critical thinking at all, and that leads you to have like so many of the plot, not necessarily all of them, but a lot of the plot hole criticisms in The Last Jedi. It's because you are willing to do absolutely zero mental work to make this work. And it's not like, oh, I can headcanon this into making sense. It's no, the filmmaker wanted you to make that leap yourself, to make those connections yourself. You know what I mean? It's like, it's intentional.
It's like CinemaSins. It's awful.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
And CinemaSins has perpetuated this kind of idea of like anything that requires even a modicum of complex thought is a plot hole, I guess.
And it bugs me in the context of Rogue One because people do think Jin is cold and unfeeling, and it's like if you take 2 seconds to think about, and I'm not saying this goes for everybody. I'm not saying this. If you have thought critically about the movie and you still think Jin is cold and unfeeling, that's your opinion. I disagree with it, but it is your opinion, and I'm really not holding that against you. I mean that. But I do feel like that there are a lot of people, and I've encountered these people in my everyday life. This is not something that I'm just like, oh, I feel like this is the case. People who just won't do they're just like, they just sit back completely passively, watch the movie, and think, oh yeah, Jin's cold and unfeeling. It doesn't make it. It's she's not a good character, and it's like, no, you have to think a little bit critically about it. Think about the fact that she acts poor. It's like obviously she's hiding something when she says it's not a problem if you don't look up. Like, look at who her parents are. Her parents are both good people, and I think you even get the vibe. I think you could say that Galen is a good person from the very beginning of the movie. You know what I mean? It's like he does not want to go with the Empire. Obviously, he does, but that's because he doesn't have a choice. He doesn't have a choice. And then whenever he realizes he doesn't have a choice, he's just like, all right, I'm going to work super hard to screw this up without being noticed. Yeah, so it's like if we're willing to... I just don't know. It bugs me when
everyone is entitled to their incorrect opinions about Rogue One. Thanks, Craig.
And I don't know. It bugs me when people are not willing. Jin is one of those characters that, unfortunately, I feel like you do have to put some pieces together to get the full picture of her character. And if you take it just at face value, completely passively, you're not going to get the full story of her character. And I'm not even saying, go read Rebel Rising and go whatever. You don't even have to do that.
There's stuff in the movie.
It's all there. It's all there. You just have to do a little bit of work, as a lot of movies make you do. You know, it's not like that's completely unheard of.
And I like Jin being who she is. Like, I like her being a little bit reckless and impulsive and kind of angry at the world. I like those qualities in her. I know people don't. That's fine. But Jin, to me, represents something that I had never seen in a Star Wars. I'm not Leia, I'm not Padme, I'm not put together and perfect, which is how those characters can kind of come across sometimes. Leia being the most competent one in the room, Padme being the smartest one in the room. I am an idiot, and Jin is also kind of an idiot.
She is, and I mean that in an
And I
endearing
need
way.
a Cassian in my life to say, stop.
Stop being an idiot. That's well, and we talked about this before, like the importance in not just representation, but diversity of representation within representation. You know what I mean? It's like you've talked about that with Rose, you've talked about that with Jin.
Somebody get this big walking carpet out of my way.
All that
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
it's the not every character being the same archetype. It's intellectual diversity as well as diversity across the other things as well. Because to me, I don't see the point in having multiple women in Star Wars if they're all Leia.
Yeah.
You know? Which they're not, thank God. Jin is not Leia. Jin is very, very much not Leia.
Importantly, also, Meg brings up the point, Jin is allowed to be a dum-dum when it comes to feelings because ... Saw.
Yeah.
And, like, that's entirely true. Saw...
She was...
Go ahead.
There is something about... Because I've said this on the podcast before. You know, as somebody who went through a tremendous amount of emotional abuse as a kid, that's another thing that makes me resonate with Jin. It makes Jin resonate with me. You know, I understand why she did that because I do those things too. You know, and she's not emotionally available and she's not all these things that kind of people want her to be. But that's why I love her so much. And in the end, she decides that regardless of all the terrible things that have happened to her, she's going to stand up and do something about it because it's the right thing to do. And, you know, she forms those connections with those people, however short they lasted. But she did it. You know, it's a huge step. I love this character so much, man.
It shows. We kind of talked a little bit about Saw in our episode last week. And I'm not trying to shift the discussion onto Saw, but like, do you believe that Saw actually cared for Jin?
No.
Really?
I don't think Saw cared for anybody.
Really?
Maybe he did, but it didn't matter.
No,
he still left it.
Yeah, I was talking clearly, like purely as like a point of clarification almost or something.
Can you care for somebody if you abandon them? If you treat them horribly? You know, if you manipulate them in a way? Can you actually care for somebody? That's the more complicated question there, I think.
I think so. And I let me elaborate a little bit. Saw is clearly emotionally stunted in a lot of ways. Like, we know that to be true. Saw has endured his own amount of trauma. You know, his home was invaded by the Separatists, and then his sister was killed. Completely unfairly, by the way. But I think he just doesn't know how to care for Jin, is what it comes down to. I do think he does care about Jin. But to him, he rather than like changing himself and changing how he behaves, he thinks the best thing he can do is cut himself out of her life. And since Saw Gerrera cannot change, I don't believe Saw could have changed no matter what. He has become so twisted and, you know, warped, and it's hinted at multiple times that Saw is kind of, you know, paranoia. He's losing his mind. He is so just warped by his vendetta against the Empire. I do think the best thing he could do to show that he cares about Jin is to remove himself from her life.
Yeah, but he didn't do it because he cared about her.
Well, I feel like he left her because I think he did because he left her because people were finding out that she was the daughter of Galen Erso. People were learning that. So Saw in Rebel Rising, we know Saw is like having people in his organization taken out because they know the truth. Like, I'm not saying that anything Saw does to or for, air quotes, Jin is justified. I'm not saying that any of that is good. But I do think he cares about Jin. And he shows it in bad ways, which leads to Jin kind of not having like Meg said, not having a good example, not knowing how to properly care about something. You know?
Yeah, it's a complex question, I guess. You know?
It is.
It's very different when you're on the other side of it also, like when you're in Jin's shoes, because you can kind of rationalize and say, yeah, I guess this person did care for me. But at the same time, it's like, they still did all these horrible things to me, so it's hard. It was not unconditional love, I guess, which
Yeah. It is weird. It is very strange. Like, I get what you're saying. I'm not even saying that I'm right. I'm not trying to assert the fact that I'm right. I'm trying to say this is my viewpoint.
I don't necessarily think that you are. I'm just trying to
I know.
See it from your...
Exactly, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It is, you're right. It's a very complex discussion to have. And I just don't even... I don't know. That's a whole different discussion. How Saul is, I mean, like Greg says, he's unhealthily pragmatic. And that's the truth.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to change. He doesn't know any other way to be. So the best thing he can do is remove himself from Jin's life. Unfortunately, he does not. To him, he's just like, oh, if I was left alone with a knife and a loaded blaster, I'd be fine.
Yeah, that's the other problem.
Jin is not. He does not provide for Jin at all. Not at all. He just leaves.
And you can also say that was 100% Galen and Lyra's fault too, for putting her in that position in the first place and being like, okay, you're gonna go live with Uncle Saw now, I guess. Saga,
yes.
Anything concerning your child.
I agree with that. The weird thing is, you can't. We kind of the bits that we see in Catalyst and the bits that we see even in Rebels, you kind of get the vibe that Saw is a little bit more put together in those. You know what I mean? It's like, and maybe it's possible that Usos just didn't have another choice.
Maybe, yeah.
They knew this could happen. The only thing they could do is have Saw on standby. But I think when they made this decision, Saw was a little bit more put together. And it was later when things got really bad after, because things continued to get worse and worse while Jin was with Saw. You know what I mean? So it's not, as we see in Rebel Rising. So it's not like, I don't know. I don't need to explain this. We know that Saw was kind of on he was in a downward spiral. It was not, he didn't have a static character and then suddenly hit something and then fall off the deep end.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're right. What you said earlier about, he did care for Jin, but it does not excuse all the bad things he did. Like, he turned her into a child soldier. Like,
yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not a way you show care for somebody. And putting him in harm's way.
I mean, honestly, the best thing he could have done was give her to somebody else.
Yes.
Like,
yes. And he was on the right track, but he stopped halfway. He was like, you're on your own, because I feel like...
He should have immediately given her to somebody else.
That too. I don't know. Rebel Rising is a very good book for those of you who have not read it. Don't let the young adult label it has dissuade you.
And I also think that Rogue One really works better as if you consider it a trilogy along with Catalyst and Rebel Rising.
Yep. I agree. Yeah, Greg, it is important. It's very important regarding Jin's character. It explains everything. And not in a way that's like, oh, this didn't really need explaining. It's like, no, it fills in her entire background.
Yeah.
Importantly, I do still think her character works without it, but
yeah,
I can't imagine there's anybody who hears about her life with Saw and is just like, oh, I don't care about that. It's like,
it's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And you start to see why Jin is the way that she is.
Yeah.
It's really hard to talk about this character without just going, I love her so much. I kind of want to talk about her relationship with Cassian.
That's important.
Because I feel like it's important.
I agree.
Both of them have a dynamic that I just really like. That they don't even necessarily like each other in the end. They just more respect where the other person's coming from, more so.
Yes.
There's a friendship there. But that's not the base of why they're doing what they're doing. And obviously the friendship, she doesn't sacrifice her life for Cassian. Cassian doesn't sacrifice his life for Jin. They're sacrificing themselves for the mission, I guess is what I meant. Because traditionally you would see more of a Han Solo type thing. Where it's Han Solo's the guy who gets redeemed and then he sacrifices himself and, I guess he doesn't really have a choice. But he dies and the last thing he says is, the last thing Leia says to him is, I love you. And it's more like, I'm doing this for you more than I'm doing this for the cause or whatever. You get the sense between Han and Leia's relationship that Han cares about the rebellion, but he cares about the rebellion because of Leia.
Yeah.
Jin doesn't care about the rebellion because of Cassian. He just helps her get
Right.
At
That's
least that's how I read it.
That's an important distinction to make.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, even all through Legends, you can tell that Han knows that the New Republic or the Rebellion is the right side to be on. Like, he gets that.
Yeah.
But how many times, especially in, like, Solo Command, like, is Han talking about wanting to be with Leia again? You know what I mean? It's like, that's why he's there. He never wanted to be a general, you know?
No. But Jin, you get the sense that Cassian helps her away, but she would have made that decision whether there.
Yeah.
He's just there to kind of point her in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of the important... That's what I love about Rogue One, right? Is because it doesn't force the romantic angle into it. Oftentimes you see female characters sacrificing themselves for love or their family, right? And those are the choices that they get. It's Lyra sacrificing herself for her child. Excuse me. It's like it's I thought I had to sneeze, but I didn't. It's somebody sacrificing themselves for their love interests or whatever. But with Jin, she sacrifices herself for the galaxy because it's the right thing to do. And that's such a refreshing thing to see in a female character.
Right.
It's like, it's not, she cares about Cassie and she cares about Bodhi and Baze and Chirrut. She cares about them and she would grow probably to love those guys, but like, that's not why she's doing it. And I love that.
Yep.
It's just,
it goes back to that whole kind of intellectual diversity thing we were talking about earlier. It's just like, it's nice to see this sort of thing. It's just nice to see a character who's not necessarily just Leia, because Padme and Leia have a lot of similarities as well. Like, you know what I mean? It's like they're kind of, they're definitely not the same character. I'm not trying to simplify their characters to the point where to say like they're the same, because they're not. But they fill the same role. They're both politicians who find themselves in the front lines, aggressive negotiations, all that stuff. You know, like,
they both also have like this kind of, this is a weird way to say it, this kind of like delicate nature to them in a weird way. I know Leia is not delicate or Padme, but I don't know if what I'm trying to say makes any sense, because they're like the princess, the queen. They have like this air of something that Jin just does not have.
Jin is an everyday person. Jin is like, I mean, Jin is worse off than the everyday person, I think, on average. And that's a completely different type of character than one that comes from royalty. You know, that's just...
Yeah, that's probably what... It's the royalty thing more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, makes her, like, way more relatable, I think.
Yeah.
Not that Leia isn't relatable or Padme isn't... You know, like... Yeah. I can say Jin's just so great so many times on the podcast.
Liam says that Jin's like a cowboy. And I guess I kind of see that.
A commoner.
A commoner.
There you go.
There you go. That's a good one.
Cowboy Jin. Episode title. Jin is a cowboy.
Jin is a cowboy.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah,
there's just so much in Rogue One in general, but I particularly like the relationship between Jin and Cassian, because they start off not liking each other, even kind of. And they get through a good chunk of the movie not even liking each other, or not liking each other even kind of. And in the end, there's kind of like this, I love that scene where she goes, you know, I never really had, and nobody's ever come back for me before.
Yeah.
And Cassian's like, well, I'm here. Welcome home. And I like that, because it's kind of like, but I don't. I think it's more just like, he's grown to care about this person and what she's trying to do and wants to be a part of it.
And I think importantly, Cassian carries, I don't want to talk too much about Cassian, but like, he carries the weight of everything he's had to do for the rebellion or for the separatists, you know, since he was 6 years old. You know, it's like he carries all that around with him. And I think Jin gave him the opportunity to do something that was just unilaterally good. That was just only good. Because he was very rigid, you know? Like, Jin was obviously super freeform, did things by her own rules, and that her influence rubbed off on Cassian. It wasn't, like you've been saying, it goes both ways. Their influence on one another was felt on both sides. Because Cassian was, like Jin says, he was like a stormtrooper. You know, it's like he does what he's ordered to do, no matter, even if it's wrong, even if it's not right. And I believe that if he and Jin had not, if Cassian had been sent to Edu to kill Galen Erso, and Jin was not there, he would have absolutely done it, no question. But Jin had planted that seed of doubt in his mind. It's like, is this the correct thing to do? And then and then Cassian, during his little spiel before they leave for Scarif, and Cassian's like, look, we've all done bad stuff for the rebellion. And we all have to live with it. I think everyone just wanted to do something. I think all of them just wanted to do something good. Wanted them to, like, they know this might be the end, but they have to do something that is just
they know.
good.
I mean, they know they're not coming back. That's the thing.
Yep.
I mean, but for the first time in Cassian's life, he's defying a direct order to not, because he's been told to not do something. But even though he knows that it's wrong, and he decides to do it anyway, and that's Jin's influence on him. Absolutely.
I never thought about it from that angle. That's like, I never thought about the fact that Cassian was disobeying whenever.
Yeah. I mean, they're all disobeying a direct order at that point. The council said, we're not going to do anything. And it's only after they realize that Rogue One has a shot that they send people.
Yeah. Well, and even then, like, they don't send people. They don't send people.
Like,
Raddus takes the fleet. Yeah, Raddus takes the fleet is what happens.
Which is one of the things that I really liked about Rogue One that showed, even though there is that council scene that is incredibly frustrating, the war council scene or whatever, I like that Rogue One showed that the rebellion are good people and they are going to do what needs to be done, regardless of whether the politicians say that they can't. Because, and it's exemplified when the guy runs up to Mon Mothma and is just like, Admiral Raddus, he went to fight, and Mon gives that and it's perfect. And it's like, yeah, this is the rebellion. This is what makes you different from the Empire. Because them all sitting around in that council scene, you know, it's just going to turn into a Rogue One podcast. Them all sitting around in that council scene where Jin is like pleading for them to do something and they don't, you know, that makes it feel more like the Empire. But the fact that when the chips are down, the rebellion goes after them, regardless of what the council says, makes the difference, I think.
The people who make up the rebellion are...
Yeah.
I mean, are the ones at the end of the day that make the decision. Because they get to go. You know what I mean? They are not part of a totalitarian regime.
It's like, hey, politician over there, you don't command my ship. So I'm going to go. Screw you. And I imagine that's what Raddus was thinking. He was like, they're not going to tell me that I can't fight.
Absolutely.
He's a Mon Cal. Like, he's not going to not fight.
Man. I'm going to do an episode talking about Raddus and Akbar's relationship. Because they didn't like each other, right?
No, they didn't.
And that's why
But Akbar named his ship after him because he respected it.
Oh, man.
There's a ship. There's a true OTP right there.
Yeah, for real. I don't know. I knew that we couldn't, like, Meg, literally no one can tell Raddus to do anything. I agree with that. I think that's the truth. Man. It's crazy. Rogue One came out 2.5 years ago, and I'm still, like, we're still digging in and finding stuff that's, like, expanding my understanding of this movie. Rakbar is the ship name. Okay.
Let me on this Raddus. Yeah, Meg, you're invited on the Raddus.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Who else?
The Rakbar episode.
Who else?
Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Oh, man.
Jin is a character that obviously I knew I had depth, but it's just more. There's just more there than I thought there was, even.
Well, every time I watch the movie, it just I relate to the character more. I get a more complex understanding of the character, and I've seen Rogue One like 100 times at this point. I love this character to the point where I was like tearing up earlier talking about her. And what like this character means to me on a personal level, as well as like what she meant for like female characters in Star Wars, that they were allowed to be rough around the edges, meant a lot to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yep.
She doesn't have to be a princess. She's just Jin.
Yeah.
And she's a little arrogant and crazy.
But again, it's just like the arrogance is an act.
Yeah.
I think. She's just so... It makes... I at the beginning of the movie, I feel like you feel a lot of sympathy for Jin. and throughout the entirety of her life, really, you feel sympathy for Jin. But
Yeah.
even as an audience member, it grows into respect. It's like
And then you're sad when she's gone.
Yep.
That's the thing.
Oh man, and then in the comics when Luke, that new squadron forms up and he names Rogue Squadron. Oh my god. I'm
gonna cry.
The fact that Jyn Erso is a personal hero of Luke Skywalker, like, those two would have been.
She should have lived, man.
Really?
I think so. I'm not saying that it would have made sense narratively. I'm just saying I wanted her to live.
Oh, absolutely.
I wanted her to go on and be like a general in the New Republic and marry Luke Skywalker or whatever.
Yeah, she's Rey's mom. Like, that's one. It's one of those things where it's like you want her to, but much like everyone wants Han Solo to live, if he had died in Return of the Jedi, it would have made sense. It would have been
I'm not saying that it would have made sense if Jyn and I guess there was a Jyn and Cassian escaped, which that would have been I would have been fine either way. I do appreciate that she sacrificed herself though, because again, it's that thing where we don't get to see female characters just sacrifice themselves or just because it's the right thing to do
for a cause. Yeah,
for a cause. Yeah, it's almost always tied to child, lover, parent, whatever. Which is not a bad thing. That's not a bad storytelling trope or whatever. But it was just refreshing. It's one of the things I really like. I'm going to spoil Avengers Endgame here in a second.
It's been out for a while at this point.
Yeah, it's been out for a month. Statute of Limitations is out. It was Black Widow dying that way. And a friend of mine mentioned that, where it was like, I like that Black Widow didn't die for a lover or a kid. She died because she wanted to protect the universe. And this was the only way to do it. And she was protecting her friend at the same time, but it was not like, it wasn't, I don't know. It's just refreshing to see that Jyn makes that decision. And especially after Cassian dies, quote unquote. You know, when he gets pushed off the thing?
Yes.
She still goes. You know, she still does it.
That's actually a very important point, I think. That really cements how far she's come as a character. The fact that she is still willing to go up to the top of the tower and fix the dish and tell off Krennic.
Yeah.
And do all of that.
Side note, having Lyra tell Krennic, you'll never win, having Galen tell Krennic, you'll never win, and Jyn telling Krennic, you've lost. Poetic cinema.
Oh, it was
poetic cinema.
Oh, it was very good. It was
amazing.
So good. I love that whole. I do love the end of that movie. It's very sad, but like that, like when the super laser gets fired and blows up the top of the tower. It's never not funny to me because I'm like, oh, Krennic, you got boned super hard there, didn't you? Like, of course it ends like this because they know everyone's gonna hate Krennic, so they're like, yeah, whatever. He gets killed by the super laser before the planet dies, or before. I'm actually, we see Jeddah after it gets like single reactor ignition fired on. I wonder what Scarif looks like because it's not good.
No. That'd be a cool.
What?
Maybe no, that's not because that planet is 100% Endor Skywalker. What am I talking about? Yeah, no,
it is.
That planet is 100% Endor.
Yeah. Man, Liam, the music.
Unless they decided to move a massive chunk of the second Death Star.
For no apparent reason. Liam says the music.
Oh, Baby Bear.
Yeah, the music was very good at the end of Rogue One, and it is. It's incredibly sad, but it's very good.
I love Jin's last scene, too. I love it with Cassian also, where they both just kind of acknowledge, okay, we're not going to make it out of this, and Cassian chooses that moment to say, your father would have been proud of you, Jyn. And then they spend their last moments like holding each other on what comfort they can, I guess, in that last moment together.
Yeah. That's especially because, at the beginning of the movie, if Cassian had told Jyn your father would have been proud of you, she would be like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Whatever, I don't care. He wouldn't. It doesn't matter. But there are just so many signposts that say this is how far she's come, this is how far she's come, this is how far she's come, without being obvious. Oh, hey, Mike. Sorry, the episode's almost over, but we're glad you came anyway. So now I'm feeling bad about Rogue One.
I feel great about Rogue One. I love that movie.
Well, you know what I mean. Like,
I think the ending is absolutely perfect.
yeah.
And as much as I hated it when I watched it, because generally my reaction to characters dying is no. Like, I've made my peace with it over the past 2 years. Like, I was thinking the other day, I was talking to somebody about Kanan, and for the first time I went, I'm okay with that character dying. It made sense in the narrative, which is the first time that had happened since that episode came out.
Did you quick Rogue One question. Obviously all of the deaths are sad. Who do you think has the saddest one?
Cheer it.
For me, it's Cheer
or Baze. It's one of those.
It's between
actually probably Baze.
Because Baze is the one who has to survive after Cheer It.
Yeah.
You know?
And him just going, I'm one with the Force and the Force is with me. I'm one with the Force. It's
the
worst. Like Jyn and Cassian's is sad, but it also ends on this triumphant note.
Yes.
Because he's like, do you think anybody's listening? And she's like, yes, I know they are. And then they have that whole thing where he's like, your father would have been proud of you. It ends on more of an optimistic note than Cheer It and Baze do, because Baze has to watch Cheer It die. And then we have to watch Baze die. A man who's like, and there's this whole other complex side of it where it's like this man who's rejected his faith for so long, accepting it in his final moments.
Oh my god. Everyone in the chat is saying Cheer It or Baze.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think we settled on who it is. Oh man.
Bodhi too. Bodhi's
is sad. Bodhi is
but at the same time, it's more of a triumphant thing than like Baze or Cheer It, I think, because he did it, you know.
Yep. Meg thinks it's Bodhi, and it's funny because Bodhi is like Cheer It. It's not a surprise because there was no.
Yeah, that's. Well, yeah, it's like Jyn and Cassian. They accepted that they're not making it out. They choose their last moment to comfort each other, and that's a little bit more comforting than what happens to Bodhi.
K2 dies protecting his friends.
That's a good point, K2. Yeah.
Oh, as soon as K2 died, I've said this before, as soon as K2 died, I knew it was over.
I knew before, but that was the moment where I was like, oh no, this is not going to end well for anybody.
That was when I lost my hope, because they either all lived or they all died. I don't think there was any in between.
Meg brought up that Bodhi, he was just beginning his story, which is also maybe that's the thing that makes all of their deaths, I think, so, except maybe besides Cheer It and Baze, who kind of have a narrative, kind of. There's this aspect to it where it's like, in any other story, this would be the first chapter, right? For Jyn, for Bodhi, for Cassian. You know, that this would be the thing. They would be the characters at the beginning of the story, and they'd get their trilogy, and they'd get to be Han Solo, and they'd walk off into the sunset with Ewok. That doesn't happen. So all of their deaths feel like you're getting the rug ripped out from you.
Yep, because, I mean, look at A New Hope. It's like, the only person in that movie who's a hero at the beginning is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Krennic's death is not sad, Liam. Screw Krennic.
But yeah, it's, what was I saying? Oh, at the beginning, like, they all become heroes by the end of A New Hope, right? I guess you could argue that Leia is a hero, but we don't know that necessarily in the context of the movie alone. But in Rogue One, they follow the same trajectory, but like you said, the rug's ripped out from under them. And that's it. That's the end of it.
Yeah, and in any other kind of like traditional movie, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
You know?
And
that is incredibly powerful to the story. I think it was Ryan Young, who I don't like anymore, but I think he's the one who said this, so I have to quote him. I think he's the one that said, Rogue One is about people fighting for a future that they'll never get to see.
Yep.
And that's the thing that I love that movie so much. Gosh, we could just talk about Rogue One for hours and hours, probably.
I know. Mike brings up the good point of specifically regarding Bodhi's death. It's just, he says his was just an oh crap. Because that's what it is. Like you were saying, like he doesn't get to make his choice. Like Bodhi realistically is the one who was safest, probably, because he was, back on the ship. He was on their way out. That was his only thing. And everyone else gets to choose, basically. the moment of their death, within reason. Jin and Cassian obviously don't, but they accept it. And Bodhi's just...
They accept it,
That look on his face when he's looking at that grenade gets me every time. I'm just like, he did not think this was going to happen, I don't think. He knew it was a possibility because he's not dumb, but I think he thought he was doing well and was just like, so this is...
Or they were winning, yeah.
It's like, I thought they were winning,
and they would have been if it wasn't for the Death Star.
Yep.
Maybe.
No, I think, well, there were...
they slammed that Corvette into the destroyers.
Yes. Obviously, it's kind of a moot point to discuss, like, what would have happened had the Death Star not been there, but there were still a ton of stormtroopers. It would have been an uphill battle, but I think they could have gotten out, especially because the shield was down, and the Rebel fleet was above the planet. But then,
and TIEs don't have hyperdrives.
Nope, they don't. Fatmatic asked Rogue One commentary. Yeah, I mean, eventually, obviously.
Yeah, one of these days. Get Rogue Padron.
I was gonna say, just to go listen to our Rogue One commentary that we did with Rogue Padron, after Celebration Orlando, I think is when that was. Basically the same thing.
God, have we really known them for 2 years?
Yeah.
Not that that's a bad thing, Meg. We love you, but it's crazy. I've known you for almost 3 years. That's a terrifying thought.
It is, and the fact that we went to Celebration after less than a year of knowing each other is also, I can't even fathom. Wow.
It's crazy to think about how we met in August, and by January I was cool enough to be like, we're gonna share a hotel room in Celebration Orlando.
Love it. I think we're ready to move into our housekeeping stuff right at the end of the episode.
Yep.
Okay. There's actually an announcement that I want to make. Something that I talked about, a tease last week. That Ash was like, I have no idea what this is.
And now I know what you're talking about.
Yes. Kind of big news for us. Through the lovely support of our wonderful community of patrons, we have been able to launch skyhopperspodcast.com, which it's crazy to say. It's super cool to hear. Where basically my vision for this site is every episode's going to go up there as well. And that's not, you can get that anywhere. That's not really that big of a deal. However, I have a few pieces that I've written over there. I want to kind of move into written content. And I also want to have a place where all of our video content can be posted as well. And obviously it'll be hosted on YouTube and you can still find it there. But I kind of want a place where you can find not even everything just Skyhoppers related, but all of our other projects as well. I want to expand it out to have links to competitions of chairs and Abroa Skywalkers and everything, Safari Zone, ongoing or not, everything that we've done, I want to have there. So it almost kind of in a weird way becomes a personal website for Ash and I, and a portfolio, things that we can show. Not really, that's not why I'm doing it, but if you like this podcast, it stands to reason I think you would like other things that we do. And I know a lot of listeners are fans of the other projects we do as well. We're always starting new stuff and we're always doing different stuff. And I just thought it'd be cool since we have the resources now to do something like that, to have a centralized place for it all. And I don't know. I think it's a cool idea. I'm excited about it.
It's a cool idea.
And since we have, it just seemed like a why not? I feel like it's a good thing to have. It's 2019. Everyone's got a website. Your grandma has a website. We got to have one.
Mike, to answer your question, none of the old stuff I've done. So all the stuff for But Why, they'll stay there. But I'll obviously be posting new stuff.
Absolutely. Stuff that is written for But Why, written specifically for other places is not going to be cross-posted. I don't want to do that. I don't want to take away from But Why, though. I don't want to do anything like that. Things specifically generated for us, or by us for the podcast is stuff that goes, or all of our projects goes there. And this could get out of hand. Realistically, probably won't. We don't have that big of a listener base. But I do want to put this out there. I want to start by saying that we don't have it in the cards to pay anybody for anything. However, I do want to put out a call for volunteers. If you are interested in writing something, or if you even just have one essay, one blog post that you've written about Star Wars that you would like to put out in a place where other people might see it. Not that we're super popular or anything, but have it shown off to another audience. Consider this an official call for volunteers. And
Yeah.
if you want to write something for us, write something for our site. This goes for our patrons. This goes for anyone who's listening. If you want to write something and put it on our website, obviously Ash and I have final editorial control over it. But if you've got an idea for top 5 Jackson appearances in Star Wars, for those who don't know who Jackson is, Jaxxon, Wikipedia.
Is that the rabbit?
It's the rabbit. If you wanna write about that, that's awesome. If you have stuff you've written in the past that you would like to promote again. Meg says I have a PowerPoint about why 3PO is the most underappreciated character in Star Wars. Change it to an article.
Yes, Meg.
Change it to an article, and we have something. We can even help you convert it to an article.
You're allowed to post that. I fully support you.
Well, okay, Ash is.
If you're giving me editorial, which you shouldn't do, by the way, because this will happen.
But I mean, that's on brand for us, right? I want it to be fun. I want people to be able to write serious articles and fun articles, and write and create fun content. Also, apparently, we've had a Skyhoppers Instagram account for a long time.
Did you know? I think I might have set it up.
You did. You absolutely did. Because I remember the Skyhoppers, the pumpkin you made a few years ago for Halloween.
Maggie set it up. That's what it was.
Oh, did she?
Yeah. That's why I was trying to figure out who the heck set up this Instagram account.
Okay. But yeah, I'm the one who's posting mostly on it, but it's always going to be Star Wars related, and I'm trying to keep that or get that up and running again. I'm really just looking for ways to get the podcast out to more people, and I'll say right now, while I'm announcing things, that I'm in the process of recording more Let's Plays and doing getting really honestly back into those. And yeah, I get that streaming is where it's at. Let's Plays are dying, whatever, but it's I don't know. I like doing them. I think they're fun. A lot of changes, or not even changes necessarily, but a lot of new stuff happening over at the Skyhoppers.
New things.
Yeah.
Things are happening.
So make sure to follow us on Instagram. I've got stuff in my own personal Star Wars collection that I want to talk about. Episodes, if I remember, episode announcements will go up there. Not that anyone who's a regular listener needs to be told when episodes come out, but But yeah, more on that stuff to come in the future. Again, can't stress this enough. If you have anything that you want us to publish on our site, send it over to us. Because we'll definitely look at it. You can Ash will tell you where you can hit us up at right now.
You can hit us up at on Twitter at SW Skyhoppers. You can check us out on or if you have stuff you want to send us, skyhopperspodcast@gmail.com is a good way.
Yep. Probably the best way, because stuff gets lost in our DMs and our notifications on Twitter.
Yep.
So if you have something you want to send us, it's okay if it's a Google Drive link. Just email skyhopperspodcast@gmail.com.
And we're also on patreon.com/skyhopperspodcast. And you can give as little as $1 a month. You get access to the live streams every month, or we try to. We missed last month.
We've only missed 1 month since we've been.
We've only missed 1 month. And you get access to the show a day early, as well as a Patreon exclusive show called After Hours. And access to a cool Discord server where we talk about lots of things, so many things. And yeah, and that's patreon.com/skyhopperspodcast. On Wide Though Podcast community, so you can go to whythoughpodcast.com and check us out over there as well. And I think that's it.
I think so too.
All right, so if Ben doesn't have anything else to add, this is the Skyhoppers Podcast signing off. Neato.
Good episode. I think that was a really good episode. I honestly feel I walked away from that episode feeling more enriched. I feel like I know more about Rogue One than I did before. Just some dots were connected and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, me too, man.
Patrons who are here, we'll obviously announce this in the Discord and everything, so people can actually start pinning actual stuff down. We are in the process of trying to set up our watch party for The Empire Strikes Back, because it's been far too long since we've done, A New Hope. But so that's something to look out for. I'm probably gonna I'll set up a doodle poll like I did last time. So I can get as many people into that as possible. But yeah, I don't know. Thanks guys for hanging out. It's always a ton of fun.
Yeah.
We had a good crew tonight. I'm always a little bummed when Cole can't show up, but he's got commitments. I want to make it clear, I don't show favoritism to Cole. Do I seem like I show favoritism to Cole? He is your
podcast co-host.
Podcast co-host. And I was joking with him last night about how it's criminal that we've not had him on the podcast yet. And he literally started a podcast with one of the co-hosts before he came on to the podcast itself. Liam, absolutely. You asked if you could pitch an article a while ago, and I was still just like, yes. The answer was yes then, and the answer is yes now. Greg, I'm glad you were able to tune in because we just, God, I can't speak for Ash, but I love you, Greg. You are like, I love
Greg
you.
is awesome.
Greg is the best. Meg says, listen.
Fuck you for putting that Yoda thing on Twitter yesterday, but I love you, man. He knows what I'm talking about.
Greg is still weirded out by how often he gets mentioned on the cast. It's weird. I don't know. It's funny because like
it took 2 years to get me on. It did, and that was
bad too. That was bad too. The thing is, it's just like I base kind of our format and how I handle myself on the podcast on other podcasts I listen to, some of the smaller ones especially. It's one of those things where we have a decent number of downloads a month, a decent number of consistent listeners, but it's definitely not a large number. So I still have it in my head that we're this like small community. And in a weird way, you guys that we talk about on the show, and I mean, kind of our core group of patrons and like Twitter friends and all that stuff, you've kind of become, this is going to sound dumb, but you've kind of become part of the Skyhoppers canon. And no, Mike, you're not chopped liver. You are also a good friend of the podcast. You need to be on board.
We can't mention everyone.
We can't mention everybody. A good way to get mentioned.
All of you who are here right now are great friends of the podcast.
Exactly. You are beyond patrons. It's not just because you give us money. It's because you are people that we interact with on a regular basis. And it's like, this is awesome. I love having the friends that I've made because of this podcast. But like 60 Cycle Hum is a guitar podcast that I definitely talk about on the show from time to time. It's a podcast I listen to a lot. And they have certain people that are in their Facebook group that they talk about a lot. They have like thousands of listeners, but they still talk about these few people because at its core is a podcast like that they do for fun. And it's weird, like for like my brother and me, I feel like it's kind of weird if they talk about their non-famous friends as though they are people that the audience knows because they've got like millions of downloads, right? We are a small enough operation that we kind of don't get noticed by the empire, as it were. That it's exactly, Greg says it best, friendship cast. That's what this is. To me, it's about sitting down, talking about Star Wars with a good friend, and just hanging out. And if there are listeners in the live stream, awesome. More people are hanging out. And that's kind of our brand. And that's my vision for the podcast. And we've yet to stray from it. And it might keep us from getting more listeners because it's not everyone's cup of tea. But I feel like I like the listeners we have. I would rather have a smaller group of listeners that I call my friends than a large group of listeners that I don't know, that never interact with us. Or weirdos.
Same here. And just to throw this out there, we do want all of you on the show at some point. That is a thing that we want to happen. The problem is neither of us are especially good at planning things, which is how Meg wasn't on the show for like 2 years.
Exactly.
Literally today, all of you who got on the stream earlier and we sat there and went, fuck, what's the topic supposed to be? This is every week for us. So it's nothing against you personally if you have not been invited on the show yet. It's just like we are bad and we forget and bug us enough and we'll probably get you on the show.
Absolutely. And this is another.
It's not an invitation to harass us in Discord, by the way, but just
good call.
Um,
Yeah, still be polite, but I don't anticipate that being an issue from anybody.
No.
And because we have such a good group, it's like basically at some point in time, anyone who wants to be on the show will be able to come on the show. And that's just another thing that I really love. It's just hanging out with friends. That's what I love about this podcast.
Yeah.
And
I think that's the reason we've been able to do it every week for nearly 3 years.
Yep.
You know?
Greg, yeah, Greg started at 11 a.m. on a work day. Greg, we can work something out. I talk to my friends on the other side of the world. Bye, Liam. Thanks for hanging out. I talk to my friends on the other side of the world on a fairly regular basis. We can work something out. I feel like
and we all know I never sleep, so
exactly. Yeah, it'll be fine. It's actually probably less of a stretch for you than it is for me. Because you're 2 hours closer to Greg's time zone. 2 hours closer to that dateline. Yeah, I don't know. I think I need a snack. It's about time. You probably just need to eat something. Yeah.
I need some food.
So Liam is splitting. I think we're all gonna split. But again, thank you guys so much for hanging out. It's always a ton of fun. And yeah, I hope that you're not too bummed out that you know the episode for this week. You've already listened to it. But
thanks for hanging out, guys.
I don't know. Thanks, y'all. Talk to you later.